Hello everyone and welcome to NFL Discussion. I'm your host and NFL enthusiast Dougie Doug. In today's episode I'm going to be discussing Saturday Divisional Round 2024 edition. And this was a pretty fun start to the Divisional Round. We had a game between the Ravens and the Texans that had a close first half, and then the Ravens put the game away in the second half. And then you had the 49ers and the Packers in the second game, and a game that went back and forth until the end when the 49ers put the game away. And with that, we're going to get right into the action, starting with, not too far. There we go. Houston Texans. And even though the season is over, the future is bright for this team. So in the immediate aftermath of Saturday's loss, it's a safe bet that DeMeco Ryans and CJ Stroud don't want to talk about the big picture. Losing stinks. Losing big stinks that much more. But once the sting wears off, both will have to admit that the 2023 season went better than they could have imagined. This year's Texans became the first team in NFL history to win a playoff game after winning four or fewer games in each of the previous 3 seasons. This is a team no one expected to make the postseason, much less destroy a team in the wildcard round. There's a high chance that both Ryans and Stroud will win accolades at this year's NFL honors. Stroud led all quarterbacks in passing yards per game, and Ryans made it clear while addressing the media that Stroud played nothing like a rookie this year. Is there still work to be done? Yeah. The defense needs improvement, and a more dynamic running back could make Stroud in the passing game that much more dangerous, but the Texans have their coach and their quarterback, so they have the necessary pieces in place, and playoffs are now the standard. We'll be curious to see what they do in the passing game. Nico Collins will be going into the final year of his deal. Tank Dell will be back. What are you going to do about Dalton Schultz in the tight end position? He's on a 1-year deal. So I think, still got some other things to figure out as well, but overall, they're in a good spot. Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson's next game could be a career-defining one. In the lead-up to Saturday's game in Baltimore, the prevailing storyline surrounding the Ravens was Lamar Jackson's 1-3 record in the postseason. He had never won a playoff game at M&T Bank Stadium. Saturday's win over the Texans may have changed that narrative a little bit, but make no mistake, the naysayers will be back on force if Jackson and the Ravens lose at home next week. But I think it's safe to say the naysayers will always find something to be vocal about. Jackson's first AFC Championship game is perhaps the most important game of his life. That isn't to say Jackson has to carry the team by itself. The Ravens do have a great ground game and great scoring defense. Both were significant factors Saturday, but as he so often is, Jackson was the star of this team. His passing numbers were modest, but he threw a couple touchdown passes, and on the ground he roasted Houston for 100 yards and added a couple more scores. It was an MVP caliber performance from the likely MVP, but it's not really going to matter unless he does it again next week and takes the Ravens to the Super Bowl. So I think conference championship, which I think would be the first time he's in that game, I don't think that's enough. I think with what this team has done this season, with the way they have played, Super Bowl is to be expected. Whoever they face next week, whether it's the Chiefs or the Chiefs and the Bills, I would expect some competition from it. But I think Baltimore has the momentum necessary to reach the Super Bowl next after winning the conference championship. But I think definitely the season might be viewed as a disappointment if it isn't. If the Super Bowl isn't reached. Green Bay Packers. So getting better defensively should be their priority in the offseason. Right now, the Packers aren't going to want to hear about moral victories and bright futures. With less than 2 minutes left in Saturday night's rated game in San Francisco, the Packers had the lead. Green Bay would have been the first number 7 seed to ever make the NFC Championship game, and the Packers broke San Francisco's 51-game streak of not allowing a 100-yard rusher. The Packers gave the top seed in the NFC all they could handle before coming up just short, but look past the loss and there is ample room for optimism in Green Bay. Everyone will remember Jordan Love's last passes. So Jordan Love's last pass this season was an interception, and some people might remember that. And Love didn't exactly have a great game against the 49ers, but the fact that he got the Packers this far demonstrated that he has what it takes to be the franchise quarterback in Green Bay, if he isn't already. Green Bay's young wide receiver corps is better than many expected, and improved markedly as the season wore on. Green Bay's offensive line allowed an NFC low 30 sacks this season, so there are building blocks on defense, and players like Rashawn Gary and Quay Walker. That isn't to say there isn't work to do in Green Bay. This was a 9-8 team after all. The Packers don't have any huge names that they hit free agency, but Darnell Savage and Jonathan Owens are about to hit the open market, so the safety position could certainly look different in 2024. The front seven needs to be improved, with the Green Bay was 28th in run defense in 2023, and the Packers are slightly in the red against the salary cap, so some gymnastics will be forthcoming, whether it's via free agency, the draft, or a little bit of both. Getting better defensively needs to be the team's priority in the offseason, but even then, the Packers are still further along the post-Rodgers era rebuild than most expected after 1 year. Now, we'll be curious to see if that change includes removing Joe Barry as the defensive coordinator. I don't see it likely. I think with how strong the defense closed out this season, I don't think they make a change. It's possible, but right now, I just don't feel like it's going to happen. San Francisco 49ers, so they are headed to the title game, but a key injury to a key player looms large for this team, and that's obviously Deebo Samuel. So it was Dre Greenlaw's second interception that sealed the deal Saturday night, with a 3-point win over the Packers. It was a team win in the truest sense. The reality is that no one Niners player took over the game, with the possible exception of Christian McCaffrey, who had 128 total yards and a couple of scores. But by McCaffrey standards, that's a good game, not a great one. The 49ers, this was a team win. Like I said, as these players picked one another up. Offensively, there was a reason that could create some unease in San Francisco leading up to the championship game. Deebo Samuel was forced from the game in the first half of a shoulder injury, and he would watch the second half in straight close. His absence was evident as the Packers were able to shut down Brandon Ayuk. If Samuel can't play next Sunday, that's a major blow to the 49ers' chances of getting to Las Vegas. They will play either the Lions or the Buccaneers, and if the 49ers have to play the Lions and Deebo Samuel's not there, that could be a problem. I like the 49ers' chances of reaching the Super Bowl, and I think, truth be told, in a way they kind of have to get there. It's not good enough to just reach the championship game. I think they have to go even further. That's kind of where the expectation is at. I know obviously every team wants to make the Super Bowl, every team should make the Super Bowl, but you got to be more realistic with the expectations. Like with Baltimore, expectations are the Super Bowl. 49ers, expectations are the Super Bowl. Texans, Packers, I don't think expectations are the Super Bowl. And as for the Lions, well, the Lions, should they win on Sunday against the Buccaneers, I think expectations could possibly be the Super Bowl. I think they could certainly change that. But for the 49ers, again, expectations are the Super Bowl, so they gotta make it. But how much of an impact will Deebo Samuel have, or how much would his potential absence have in this team's effort to make the Super Bowl? It wasn't a pretty game from the 49ers here, but the defense stepped up in the end and sealed the deal. And Christian McCaffrey also put some points on the board for his team, and Brock Purdy, he made one good throw for a touchdown, so I don't think all was lost, but it certainly would. But his absence certainly would hinder their efforts. And with that, I'll go ahead and quit rambling on and just wrap up this episode of NFL Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button down below.